Okay, good morning, everybody. As I said, let us then just complete our module 4. This is then on page 97 in your textbooks. So we finished this activity 4.9, where we looked at the decision-making styles. And then the next thing that we're going to look at is the personal influences on decision-making styles, which is on page 97. Okay, so obviously, when you are going to make decisions, your personal influences will be on the decision that you're going to make. So here we look at 4 main personal characteristics that will influence the decision-making style. The first one is a level of intelligence. So this is then the level of intelligence that can either assist you to make a decision or then make the process more complex. So highly intelligent people sometimes overthink or overanalyze a situation and simply cannot make a decision. So this will definitely play a role. Next one is the over-cautionness or over-caution person. They are too cautious. They're too scared to actually make a decision. And they may then miss opportunities because they hesitate to take risks. Then the next one, ego defensiveness. This is where you act with too much concern for yourself and respond to situations in a way that protect your self-esteem. This is also where you see other people's input as a personal attack. Okay. Then the last one, impulsiveness. This is when you act too quickly or without really thinking about the consequences of your actions. Personal emotions will play a big role here. Right. Next one is then the decision-making process on page 97 still. This is where we have certain steps then that will form the process. Decision-making can be complex, so you need to follow the logical approach when you try to find solutions and make good decisions. First one here, problem awareness. This is where you are aware of the problem, and we're going to look at an example now that will actually cover this for you or explain it more in detail. Second one is define the problem and gather related information. Next, establish the decision-making criteria. And then the fourth one is to develop alternative solutions. Fifth one, analyze the data. And then 6, decide or then take action on preferred options. And then lastly, you will always have to make follow-up decisions. So I want you to just read that little case study there at example 4.1 about Susan. Okay, I'm sure you are all done with that now. So to break this, the decision-making process down and also to apply the knowledge, we have to go to the example there on page 98, which will then give you an example and also explain how to apply the knowledge then. We said step 1 is the problem awareness. So what is the problem? Susan arrived late. And that was brought under the attention of the managers. Then the second step, define the problem and gather related information. Susan has been late for 4 times this month. So that could start getting a situation where the other staff members might get upset about. It appears that Susan is late due to transport problems. This varies from unreliable public transport to not having enough money to travel to staying in an area where no buses operate. So this is actually a very big problem. Then there's another issue here. There are private taxis operating in her area, but she cannot afford the fares. Okay, so we've got quite a few things here. Defining the problem. Step 3, establish decision-making criteria. Adhere to the code of conduct by spelling out the rules and sanctions, which is then the penalty or punishment for doing something wrong for this type of transgression offense, something that you did wrong. So you're going to adhere to the code of conduct. You are not allowed to actually arrive late for work. Next one, make sure that dismissal is a legal termination option. So legal termination, that it is actually lawful. Then consider similar situations that may have occurred in the past when another employee may have had the same problem. And then you decide what you will do about this problem. Okay, so with a situation like this, they're always like in the courts as well. They will always refer back to a previous case and then what the outcome of that was. So that is exactly what you're going to do. You're going to go and do some research on previous situations like this, and that might help you to make your decision. Step 4, then develop alternative solutions. So the alternative solutions could be either dismissal, then final written warning, which would be the 5th one, or you can possibly include a few solutions like maybe give an increase in a salary, giving a travel allowance to enable her to use a private taxi, or then flexi time. Okay, so that is any of the 3 options that could be available. Flexi time, meaning that you start, say for instance, at 9 when the business opens at 8 because 8 o'clock is a problem, or 8:30, and then you end, say for instance, the business closes at 4, then you will then end your day work at 4:30, something in that line, or 9 until 5. Okay, so you work the same amount of hours for the day, but you will not start or end at exactly the same time as the rest of the staff. So step 5 will then be to analyze the data. So now she's an excellent worker. So you don't want to lose her. You don't want her to be retrenched or dismissed. You want to keep her. So good thing for her. She's an excellent worker. The business would like to keep her. Second one, the final writing warning may be an option to adhere to the code of conduct. So to keep it legal and also fair towards the other staff members who arrive on time. Then the third one, flexi time might not be a good solution. Why? Because, say for instance, she starts at 9 and the business hours are from 8 until 4, then what is she going to do for the last hour? See, so that might not be a good option. An increase in salary might not necessarily be used specifically for travel purposes. So if she gets this money extra, she might not use it or spend it on travel allowances. Last one here, it seems as if a travel allowance, which will enable her to use reliable private taxis, will be the solution for her problem. So the increase in salary might not be a good idea, but the transport or travel allowances might be a better idea because that's going to be more reliable transport that she might then consider. Step 6, decide or take action on a preferred option. This is then what was decided. So give Susan a final warning valid for 6 months, which is fair. And then add a travel allowance to her salary. So travel allowance, we said previously in step 5 that this must be spent on reliable transport. Then step 7, make follow-up decisions. So monitor Susan to ensure that a problem has been solved. We said for 6 months now. Then the second one could be conduct a survey to find out whether other employees are also struggling to get to get to work because of unreliable transport. And then the next one, implement travel allowances for all employees to ensure consistency at the workplace. So that is then follow-up decisions that could then flow from Susan's situation. Okay, if you're putting stickies, I'm sure this would be one of the places that you would put stickies because I'm sure you will see something like this in application of the decision-making process again. Maybe in team 1 or team 2, I'm not sure. All right, then the techniques for developing alternative solutions, page 99. Now you will see some of these are not new. We've looked at them in 4 already. Generate alternative solutions. This is where you write down the problem and then generate any different ideas. It's almost like mind mapping. Then a reverse method. State your problem in reverse. So this is where you change a position, state a positive statement into a negative one. Brainstorming. This is where we actually are participating in a group, 4 to 7, huh? Was it 2 to 7? And then you can get any idea. So you write down any idea related to the problem. Challenge assumptions. Write down your own assumptions about something and then challenge this assumption. The why technique, where you ask why questions. And then on page 100, suspended judgment. So this is where you gather all the facts before you make a decision. Do not make a judgment immediately. First, evaluate the options. This technique is also used with brainstorming. Then fractioning. This involves breaking a problem into smaller and more workable pieces or parts. Then look at the alternative solution for every part. And then force connection. I think you can still remember this one, where you compare the problem with something else that has little or nothing in common with it. And then gain new insights as a result. Okay, so let us do case study 4.1 quickly, where you just read the case study and then answer those 3 application questions, please. It counts 15, so I will give you 15 minutes to do that quickly. So we will start marking at 12 o'clock. Just a reminder, there are papers in front of the class should you need it to write on. Okay, guys, let us mark this quickly. Okay, so fractioning method would then be anything in the line of maybe looking at how the meals are provided. For example, serving small portions at different times. So how the meals are provided. For example, serving small portions at different times. You could have also included the way the menus are designed. The way menus are designed. Or the layout of the restaurant. Is it going to be a sit-in or dine-in, or is it going to be a takeaway? The layout of the restaurant. Then you can also maybe include staff wearing a clothing range in the restaurant. That's going to also advertise. So staff wearing a clothing range in the restaurant. Okay, that then the fractioning method. Then the reverse method, remember we said we're putting that one then in a different, a positive statement into something that is more challenging. So offer meals in calabashes, as in the past before plates and cutlery were used. You can maybe do that. Offer meals in calabashes, as in the past before plates and cutlery were used. You can also maybe let your clients sit on the floor for meals instead of on chairs. Let customers sit on the floor for meals instead of chairs. Okay, then generation of alternatives. Number 3, give people different options for how their meals will be served. Give people different options for how their meals will be served. You can also ask the stakeholders for their input. Ask the stakeholders for their input. Okay, this then the case study. I want us to do question 4 in the summative assessment as well, page 104. I'm going to do this one with you so that you have an idea of what to then include in the specific matters like your mission statement. So please go to page 104, question 4, where we're going to read that small case study. This is more or less what we've done now. I just want us to work through the mission, also the long-term objectives and the others. Okay, so read that case study quickly, please. Okay, so let us go through the questions then. 4.1, develop a mission for, or a mission statement for African explorers. Okay, so we've done this on page 83 in your textbooks. So what you have to include here is where you will look at the purpose, the values, and the objectives of the business. So obviously, this is a unique, typical African experience. Unique, typical African experience. Unique, typical African experience in clothing, food, and natural products. Unique, typical African experience in clothing, food, and natural products. Taking you back to nature. Okay, you will also include here who your customers are or your target market. Include who the target market is. Their needs. And how to satisfy their needs. Okay, so this should then look like the following. It should be concise, as well as grab the attention of your stakeholders. Should be concise and grab the attention of your stakeholders. And this is then a mission statement for a business like this. Marks allocation, 4 times 2, so you must have 4 facts there. And each fact is going to count 2 marks. Good on that one? Happy with that one? Okay, question 4.2. Develop any 3 long-term objectives from the mission. So we're going to look at the mission now where we said it must be a unique, typical African experience. It must include clothing, food, and natural products, and that have to take you back to nature. This must be included in your customers, their needs, and also you must be able to satisfy their needs. Okay, so long-term objectives then, opening franchise in Gauteng within next 2 years. Remember, there should always be a time frame. Opening franchise in Gauteng, so another province, within the next 2 years. Marks allocation 3 times 2, so don't just write words, please. Second one, increase products manufactured from cannabis within the next year. Increasing products manufactured from cannabis within the next year. And then a possible another long-term objective could be exporting African-style clothing, shoes, and natural products to other countries. This will happen within the next 4 years. So exporting African-style clothing, shoes, and natural products to other countries within the next 4 years. So that is 3 long-term objectives. 4.3 lists any 3 non-current assets that this company will have to obtain. Non-current, that is then, for example, equipment, furniture, cash registers in whatever form it is, or maybe a desktop, vehicles, and building. This is then non-current assets. Equipment, furniture, cash register, or any desktops or laptops, vehicle, and also buildings. 4.4 lists any 2 current assets that this company will need. Current assets, that is then example inventory, so stock on hand. Also consumables and cash. Consumables would be things like gloves, masks, hair protection, maybe your takeaway boxes, all of those. And then cash, so any 2. Four 4.5, briefly explain who you think the target market of this business would be. Okay, so it could be local as well as international tourists. I know they love to buy our shoes and clothing, especially the African cultural clothing. Any businesses who have a year-end function could be maybe included. Birthday parties, any kind of events can be included here. Question 4.6, do a SWOT analysis for the business with references to only opportunities and threats. List 2 elements under each. So what I want you to do is don't write down all the SWOT analysis. They don't want the strengths and weaknesses, only opportunities and threats. Okay, so opportunities could be overseas tourists, support from government for entrepreneurs, support from government for entrepreneurs. And then the last one, overseas countries approaching them for export. Overseas countries approaching them for exports. This then the opportunities. Threats, economic conditions will definitely play a role here. Economic conditions, because if there's an increase in or the rand value strengthens, then obviously we won't have that many tourism here or tourists here. Also, inflation can play a role. Increase in petrol as well as electricity. Increase in the price of petrol and electricity. Also, possible competitors, new competitors in the market. These kind of businesses are very trendy nowadays, and you will see them popping up all over the place. And then if you really can't think about anything, remember, then you can write crime, but don't start with crime. Please think a little bit further. Okay, then 4.7. Managers from top level to lower level management will have to make 3 kinds of decisions. Briefly explain these kinds of decisions and give one example of each one. One of these 3 levels. Okay, so we're going to start with, this is on page 95 in your textbooks. 95. Strategic decisions. It's the first one. This is normally done by top level management. And that is mostly long-term objectives that will be formed. An example here, exporting items or then opening franchise. Exporting product items or then opening franchise. That then strategic decisions. Tactical decisions. This is your medium-term decisions done by the middle level management. Examples here is you will look at which products will be sold. Maybe what will be on the menu. Or maybe where you will look at which traditional medicine will you specialize in. Last one at the types of decision making is operational decisions. This is normally your short-term or day-to-day decisions that is made by lower level management. For example, what ingredients do we need for the menu? So they will do a kind of planning for the day-to-day or then every 3 days or for the week to find out what ingredients they need for the menu. You could have also maybe added here what inventory planning needs to be done each day or week. What inventory plan should be done each day or week. Okay, guys, I think question 4.8 and then 4.11, we will finish then tomorrow. Thank you. please, I do have the registers. Enjoy the rest of your day and see you tomorrow.